China has just built the tallest bridge on Earth, rising high above a deep mountain canyon. The Huajiang Canyon Bridge is not just huge, it's changing travel and engineering forever. Many people around the world are amazed by its speed of construction and bold design. But the real question is, how did China build something this incredible? Stay with us. The giant bridge rising above Huajiang Canyon. In the towering peaks of Guizhou lies a remarkable structure stretching over a steep gorge, the Huajiang Canyon Bridge. Prior to its official opening for traffic, the bridge underwent an incredibly rigorous safety assessment, setting a new standard for bridge testing worldwide. Engineers conducted an experiment to assess the bridge's durability by simultaneously driving 96 heavy trucks onto it. The combined weight of the trucks totaled around 3,700 tons. The objective was straightforward yet significant, to determine if the bridge could withstand immense pressure without compromising its strength. While the trucks were stationary on the bridge, over 400 specialized sensors were strategically positioned throughout various sections of the structure. These sensors diligently monitored even the slightest of movements, collecting data on pressure, vibration, bending, and stress instantaneously. Each minuscule adjustment in the bridge's condition was documented and analyzed. The outcome was evident and thrilling. The Huajiang Canyon Bridge aced the examination flawlessly. There were no hitches and no indications of fragility. The framework remained sturdy, just as the engineers had intended. The examination went beyond just confirming the safety of the bridge. It demonstrated a heightened level of engineering expertise to the global audience. The monitoring system introduced for the bridge established a groundbreaking standard for testing and safeguarding modern bridges worldwide. The Huajiang Canyon Bridge is not simply a structure of steel and cables, but rather a symbol of innovation and engineering that showcases the transformative impact of ambitious projects on the global landscape, particularly in the East. Massive infrastructure developments are rapidly emerging across the nation. Cities and regions that were once distant are now being linked through the construction of new railways, bridges, roads, and tunnels. One of the most notable advancements is the extensive high-speed rail system. Currently, this network covers over 26,000 kilometers and connects major urban centers like Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Chengdu. Millions of individuals can now easily and swiftly travel over vast distances thanks to these high-speed trains. A journey that previously required several hours can now be completed in a fraction of the time. This innovative transportation method has come to represent efficient moving and intelligent organizational strategies. Investment in infrastructure is now considered vital for driving economic development. By the year 2023, over $2 trillion was allocated for infrastructure projects, marking a 6% rise from the previous year. Massive investments like these play a crucial role in enhancing connectivity and facilitating commerce, tourism, and dialogue across different areas. In addition, they pave the way for innovative advancements in technology, engineering, and international collaboration. These initiatives are gradually contributing to bolstering the nation's standing on the global platform. Of all the remarkable progress being made, the Huajiang Canyon Bridge is particularly stunning. The Guizhou province is home to a bridge that spans across rugged mountains and steep valleys. The challenging terrain has historically hindered travel, causing journeys between canyon sides to be arduously lengthy. The introduction of the new bridge alters the landscape entirely. In September 2025, the bridge was opened, measuring a total length of over 9,000 feet. The central section of the bridge alone will span about 500 feet over the canyon. Prior to the construction of the bridge, it took approximately 70 minutes for travelers to navigate around the canyon in order to arrive at the opposite side. However, now with the presence of the new bridge, the same journey can be completed in just 90 seconds. But why was this bridge built? Let's dive into it. The bridge that freed the mountains of Guizhou. In the province of Guizhou, the land never seems to rest. Mountains rise and fall again and again, stretching across the distance like waves on a quiet ocean. Hills roll for miles in every direction, and deep valleys cut through the earth. Flat land is very rare here, and because of that, it is precious. For many generations, living in Guizhou meant learning how to live with the mountains. Traveling through this land was never easy. Straight roads were almost impossible to find. Most roads twisted through the hills, climbing high and dropping low again and again. Every journey felt slow and careful, like a quiet conversation with the land itself. Looking at the landscape, it almost seems as if giant hands once pressed the earth gently and folded it into soft waves. Deep gorges open between the mountains, while tall ridges stand like silent guardians watching over the valleys. Rivers glide through the rocks like thin silver ribbons, shining softly in the sunlight. Above the peaks, white clouds float slowly through the sky, brushing the mountaintops like pieces of soft cotton. Anyone who arrives in Guizhou quickly feels the beauty of the place. The green mountains spread across the horizon in endless lines. Small villages sit peacefully between the hills. The air feels fresh and clean, and life seems calm and gentle. Many visitors fall in love with the scenery the moment they see it. People often say that the land reminds them of Switzerland. Because of this, Guizhou has earned the nickname the Switzerland of China. Tourists take pictures of the mountains, walk through the peaceful villages, and admire the rich traditions of the people who live there. They return home with warm memories and peaceful hearts. But behind this beautiful picture is a quiet truth that most visitors never see. For the people who live in Guizhou, the mountains have not always felt like a blessing. For centuries, these mountains acted like walls separating communities from each other. Moving goods into the region was difficult. Selling products outside the region was even harder. The roads that existed were narrow and dangerous. They wrapped around steep cliffs and dropped into deep valleys before climbing back up again. Every trip demanded time, strength, and patience. Sometimes two towns could see each other across a canyon. The distance between them might be only 1 kilometer. Smoke from cooking fires could rise gently from houses across the valley. The sound of busy markets or ringing church bells could float through the air. But reaching that nearby town could take 2 hours of driving along twisting mountain roads. What looked close was actually very far away. This was not unusual, it was simply everyday life in Guizhou. Families often lived on different sides of steep hills. A grandmother might see her grandchildren across the valley, yet only visit them a few times each year. A simple visit required planning and courage. Heavy rain could damage the roads or wash away narrow paths. Thick fog could hide the road completely. One small mistake while traveling could become very dangerous. Because of this, many people chose to stay in their villages rather than risk the journey. Children felt this isolation deeply. Some good schools were not very far away, but the trip to reach them could take many hours. On a map, the distance looked short. In real life, the road was long and difficult. Many young students stayed near home, not because they lacked dreams or talent, but because the mountains stood in their way. Geography quietly shaped their future. Farmers faced their own struggles every day. They worked hard on the steep mountain slopes. With great care, they carved small fields into the hills. They planted crops, cared for the soil, and waited patiently for harvest. But after harvest came another challenge. Getting the crops to the market was slow and difficult. The journey along the rough mountain roads took many hours. By the time the produce reached the market, much of it had already spoiled. Poverty slowly followed these delays. It did not happen because the people were lazy. They worked hard every day. The real problem was distance and time. Opportunities often felt close enough to imagine, but just out of reach. Jobs, education, and trade seemed visible, but impossible to touch. It felt like standing behind a clear wall of glass. The future could be seen, but it could not be reached. Over many decades, this situation shaped entire generations. Poverty did not appear suddenly. It grew quietly and slowly. The mountains shaped more than just the roads. They shaped the way people thought. When travel is difficult, dreams can begin to feel smaller. Leaving home can seem risky. Staying where life is familiar may feel safer, even when opportunities are limited. In this quiet way, the land guided the paths of many lives. The Chinese government clearly saw this challenge. They understood that Guizhou was rich in culture, beauty, and hardworking people. The problem was never the spirit of the people. The real challenge was the land itself. Guizhou province has very little flat ground. About 92.5% of the region is covered by mountains and hills. Across the province stand about 1,258,000 peaks. 8 major rivers flow through the region, along with many smaller streams. Over thousands of years, the flowing water carved the land into deep and breathtaking gorges. Building modern highways in such terrain is extremely difficult. Engineers must face the folds of the earth itself. One of the most challenging places is the Huajiang Canyon. This canyon lies between the cities of Liupanshui and Qianshinan in Guizhou. It is also an important part of the Lian Expressway, a major road designed to improve travel across the region. When engineers planned the route, they faced a serious decision. One option was to avoid the canyon by building the road around the mountain peaks. This would create a smoother path, but the cost would be extremely high. Another option was to lower the bridge height by adding tunnels and steep slopes. However, this would make construction much more complex and dangerous. In the end, the engineers chose the boldest solution. They decided to leap across the canyon in one great span. Instead of winding around the mountains, the bridge would stretch directly across the canyon at a height of about 625 meters above the ground. But this wasn't the only problem they faced while building this masterpiece. Stay with us. Build in the giant bridge above Huajiang Canyon. Initially, constructing a suspension bridge may seem uncomplicated. The process can be broken down into 3 distinct stages. Initially, sturdy towers are erected by engineers. Next, 2 robust main cables are extended across the opening and securely anchored on either end. Lastly, the bridge deck is suspended from these cables with the use of vertical suspenders. When these components are combined, a suspension bridge is formed. However, the actual situation is much more challenging. The construction of the Huajiang Canyon Bridge started with the erection of sturdy towers on the mountains overlooking the canyon. Engineers had to carefully select a stable foundation before proceeding with pouring concrete for the massive structure. After a thorough examination, they dug deep into the solid rock. 24 enormous concrete pillars were placed by engineers, extending deep into the bedrock. These pillars created a robust base essential for upholding the towers. The towers were able to soar above the canyon thanks to a solid foundation that extended 68 meters beneath the ground, which is equivalent to the height of a 20-story building. Each tower was planned to reach over 200 meters high above ground level. In order to construct them diligently, the towers were separated into over 40 different parts. A hydraulic climbing formwork system was utilized by engineers in the construction of these sections. The concrete molds ascended gradually as each part was finished using this system. Employees filled the molds with concrete and raised them to the next level. The towers steadily increased in height, day after day. The structures typically ascended at a rate of around 0.8 of a meter per day. Gradually yet consistently, they made their way upward toward the heavens. Simultaneously, engineers were constructing an essential component of the bridge, the anchors. These anchors are designed to secure the main cables in place to ensure the stability of the entire structure. There was adequate room on one side of the canyon to construct a large anchor block made of concrete. This enormous structure was almost half the size of the well-known Beijing National Stadium. The reason behind constructing the anchor on such a grand scale is significant. Its massive size prevents any shifting of the main cables. Weighing approximately 400,000 tons, the block possesses the required strength to securely support the cables. This specific design is known as a gravity anchor due to its dependence on self-weight for stability. On the flip side of the canyon, a unique obstacle arose. The lack of sufficient room prevented the construction of a large concrete structure. Engineers employed a unique method to address the issue by utilizing the mountain structure itself. They hollowed out a specific tunnel within the rock and securely fastened the cable inside. This innovative resolution is known as a tunnel anchor. After the completion of the towers and anchoring, the subsequent task involved the installation of the primary cables. These wires may seem slim from a distance, however. They actually have a thickness of nearly 1 meter. They possess enough strength to support someone walking on them. The following issue involved figuring out a way to extend massive cables over a gorge that exceeds a width of 1,400 meters. Engineers implemented an innovative fix. A slender rope was transported across the canyon by a drone initially. The thin rope was then employed to draw a thicker one after reaching the opposite side. Subsequently, the thicker rope pulled an even thicker one. This sequence was repeated multiple times. Over time, the ropes gained enough strength to hold up a makeshift bridge in midair. This bridge, known as a catwalk, connected the two buildings. Engineers started positioning the genuine cable strands on the catwalk. 91 sturdy steel wires were used to make each strand, with each wire measuring a width of just 5.7 millimeters. The initial thread held significant importance as it set the tone for all subsequent threads to come. In order to achieve precise results, engineers utilized measuring devices on the surface in conjunction with the Beidou navigation satellite system. By employing these technologies, the margin of error during installation was limited to a mere 2 millimeters. Sequentially, additional ropes were drawn over the gorge. A total of 217 ropes were set up. Following their placement, a cable compressor compressed them firmly. One strong main cable was created through this procedure. After the completion of installing and securing both cables, the next phase of the project involved raising the primary beam. The road deck of the bridge is made up of the primary girder, which is exceptionally heavy. In fact, its weight is equivalent to approximately 95 ZNY-20 transport aircraft. In order to proceed with the building project, the girder had to be split into 93 distinct parts. Each of these parts was hoisted individually and then put together, starting from the middle and moving outwards in both directions. Each part was approximately 200 tons in weight. Elevating these massive components above the canyon proved to be a challenging task. Furthermore, the presence of powerful gusts of wind in the canyon complicated the job even further. Engineers employed an innovative cable crane system to tackle this obstacle, granting them the ability to meticulously control each movement down to the millimeter. The pieces were raised and linked gradually. Finally, they converged flawlessly in the middle. Once the last section was attached, the fundamental framework of the bridge was finished. What was the impact of this bridge to the world? Let's find out. The bridge that changed life in the mountains. The Huajiang Canyon. Bridge is famous for its amazing design, but its true importance is much deeper than that. Its real value can be seen in the way it changes everyday life for the people living in the mountains of Guizhou. For many years, crossing the canyon was slow and difficult. Drivers had to follow narrow mountain roads that twisted and turned along steep cliffs. The distance did not look very far on a map, but the journey required about 70 minutes of careful driving. The roads climbed high, dropped into valleys, and then climbed again. Traveling through them demanded patience and great attention. For many people, the trip felt long and exhausting. Today, everything has changed. With the Huajiang Canyon Bridge standing high above the canyon, crossing from one side to the other now takes only about 90 seconds. What once felt like a difficult trip has become a short and simple drive. This change means a great deal for many small mountain communities. For generations, these towns were separated from the outside world by rough terrain and deep valleys. Reaching other places was not easy. Now those towns are finally connected to the National Expressway network for the first time. For many residents, this moment feels historic. The bridge sits on the Liwan Expressway, an important highway that stretches about 94 miles. This road connects western Guizhou with the busy economic region known as the Pearl River Delta. The Pearl River Delta is one of the most active centers of business and industry in the country. By linking Guizhou to this region, the bridge opens new doors for trade, tourism, and development. Transporting goods will now become faster and easier. Trucks will spend less time on dangerous mountain roads. Fuel use will decrease, and vehicles will suffer less damage from long and rough journeys. Because of this, transportation costs are expected to fall greatly each year. Businesses will save money, and goods will move more smoothly between regions. But the benefits do not stop with trade. The bridge is also expected to bring new life to tourism, hospitality, and eco-friendly businesses in an area of about 19 square miles. Visitors from many places will come to see the bridge and enjoy the beauty of the canyon around it. The bridge was carefully designed not only as a road, but also as a place where people can stop, admire the view, and feel the excitement of standing high above the mountains. Along the bridge deck is a glass skywalk that allows visitors to look directly down into the deep canyon below. For those who love adventure, there are special areas for bungee jumping and paragliding. Cliffside walking trails also give visitors a chance to explore the surrounding landscape while breathing the cool mountain air. Because of these unique features, the bridge has quickly become a powerful symbol of pride. Many people compare it to the famous Golden Gate Bridge. Near the bridge is a special service area called Yundu. The name means crossing the clouds with one bridge. Visitors who stop there stand nearly 1,000 meters above sea level. On clear mornings, thick clouds often move through the valley below. From above, the view looks like a wide ocean of white clouds covering the mountains. People standing there sometimes feel as if they are floating in the sky. The bridge was designed with many special details to capture the attention of visitors. Engineers wanted people to stop, admire the beauty of the bridge, and remember the moment. Inside one of the tall towers, there is a transparent elevator. As it slowly rises, visitors can watch the canyon sink lower and lower beneath them. With every meter, the view grows wider and more breathtaking. At the top of the tower, the elevator opens into a two-story cafe that appears to hang above the canyon. From there, visitors can see the rocky cliffs, the winding river, and the endless sky stretching far into the distance. Below the bridge is another exciting attraction. A clear walkway allows people to look straight down into the canyon. The distance from the walkway to the canyon floor is about 625 meters. Standing there can make the heart beat faster. The ground appears unbelievably far away. For many visitors, the moment becomes unforgettable. The bridge also includes a beautiful artificial waterfall. Water flows down from the structure and falls gently into the canyon below. The sound of moving water brings life and motion to the strong steel bridge. In this place, beauty and strength exist together. The bridge is no longer only a structure of metal and concrete. It becomes a place where engineering, nature, and human feeling meet. And the vision for the bridge continues to grow. A large platform has been prepared for bungee jumping, allowing brave visitors to leap into the open air above the canyon. There are also discussions about holding professional base jumping competitions in the future. Plans are even being explored to create a full extreme sports center at the bottom of the canyon. These ideas show that the bridge was built not only for travel, but also to be experienced and enjoyed. The Huajiang Canyon Bridge has become a proud symbol for Guizhou Province. It shows how the region has grown through modern engineering and strong determination.